talk to, and I talk to a lot of people, is that they just don't know where to start, right? They don't know where that tipping off point is to say, okay, where do I need this? Do I need an intraoral scanner? Do I need a desktop scanner? Which route do they want to go? And I think that that's the thing that's really confusing people a lot in terms of going digital, is that there's a barrier to entry, of course, but I don't think people get confused at so many people are talking about it, and there's so many different products and processes out there that it's not very streamlined for people. And that's why when I do talk about it, I do kind of talk about one workflow only, one company only, and this is the route that it should be, because I don't like when people get confused and they're buying a bunch of different things, and then that's when people get frustrated. So I think that's the main thing that comes up when I talk to people, is like, where do you start? Like, where do you begin? Yeah, I think the problem is right now with like that conversation though, and it's a conversation that, again, working with Dentsply, we talk to dentists all the time, is that the thing is that now dentists are seeing kind of that simplified workflow of the denture side of things, and they're saying, okay, why can't I have a prime print, or why can't I buy an Asiga and print these on my own? Because the return on investment of that machine is significant. And so, and I talked to Shamil this morning as well. You'll see that even our fee guide this year has gone down in Ontario for the denturists, just for a regular full denture. And why do we think that is? Because the process itself is much cheaper to do. And that's why things are changing. I think that dentists are starting to realize that, and they're starting to think, why can't I have a piece of this pie, right? And it's one thing that me and Shamil always talked about as well, is about why can't we get into dental offices, which I'm sure you guys have as well. I work with a lot of dentists that I just go into their office and I do the work there. I think the days of the brick and mortar denture clinic is slowly kind of falling behind, and it's because of that digital process as well.
Yeah, for sure. Dentists think they can make dentures a lot easier now, but it's still, people go, oh, I can make a denture. I could print one for 15 cents, but you still have to buy the scanner, the design software, the printer, which is going to cost you maybe $100,000, or a mill, which costs you, $100,000. So like, people are like, oh, it's so cheap, but it's like, well, it's not really that cheap, because I had to hire a tech guy. I had to hire a new technician who could work computers. I had to get a printer. I had to get an auto flash. I had to get 2 types of software, and I had to get a mill. So no, it's not that much cheaper.
If it's not your business, it's very hard to get into it.
Yeah,
like you have to dedicate yourself to making dentures.
I think when it comes to like crowns, I would think dentists are probably worried the quality is going to be less and the aesthetics is going to be less. And probably 2 years ago it was. But I know a dentist who's been milling chairside crowns for 15 years as temporaries, but I mean, it's better now than it was 2 or 10 or 15 years ago. So I mean, they're getting stronger and more aesthetic, but and dentures, it's the same thing. I mean, in a couple of years, they're going to look real good.
Well, for dentists, it's mostly going to be first, they'll get into it with an intraoral scanner, because they can just scan the prep and send it off and get a crown digitally. So that makes a lot of sense for them to just get into digital with an intraoral scanner. But when I started, I thought that for dentures, a desktop scanner was much better, because I can make models. I had way more control. I can scan bite blocks faster and get into digital that way. So I think dentists and denturists would have 2 different routes of getting into digital. For a dentist, intraoral scanner makes sense. For denturists, for me, I think it made a lot of sense to start with a desktop scanner, because I can just scan models. I can get into it slowly, and then until I started doing what I'm doing now.
Jonathan, are you scanning like final impressions for completely edentulous people?
To make it like a final denture on an edentulous scan?
Like, are you doing the intraoral scan for a final? Or are you, because when I took your course, you weren't so much. You were.
Yeah, I think that like the good thing, I'll keep talking about Dentsply, but don't get me wrong, there's lots of other intraoral scanners out there. But the fact that we've gotten a lot of updates with our scanner recently, and so we're up to like 5.2.4 now, and I have zero problem putting in a denture on a edentulous scan now, if clinically I know that scan is good. I think that that's the thing that kind of confuses people sometimes. Like someone who's just going to buy a prime scan or just going to buy a Trios or a Medit, they're not going to be good at scanning at first, and you can't expect that they're just going to use it to create a denture on it. Like I've been scanning with my prime scan for over 5 years, and it took me a fair amount of time to get to that point where I'm confident enough that my scan is good enough that I can finish on that. If I don't think it is, then absolutely not, I don't. And I think that that has kind of changed within maybe the last year since the last update came, that it did make it much easier to capture even like the dentures lower.
Yeah,
Yeah,
any
so what do you-
success with
what do you
lower?
do with
Sorry.
that? Okay,
Yeah,
same question, I think.
yeah, I have great success scanning. I scan everything. I scan free and partials. I scan, yeah, literally every person that comes into my office, I scan. And then I'll make a decision on if that scan is clinically good enough to finish a denture on or to finish a partial denture on. And then I make a significant decision at that point if I'm going to continue with a custom tray or I'm going to finish with an altered cast.
But you wouldn't do because you can't locate a denture, you wouldn't scan because there's no scan bodies for it.
Yeah, they make a locator scan body that goes over top of it snaps on top of a locator.
Yeah,
That is going to make you a perfect spacer to pick your
to pick it up later.
intraorally, right?
Yeah.
Firmly believe that the proper way to finish a locator denture actually is intraoral scan pickup anyways. And that's kind of well documented, that model workflow for a locator is like, you can get away with it, but it's not passive. Like
You don't know if it seats all the way properly.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, what was that last thing? You said intraoral scan pickup?
Yeah, like if you pick up a locator attachment, right? Like that's the most accurate way to finish a locator denture. So really, is there ever going to be a locator analog that you can scan? Absolutely not, because that's just, it's documented that it's better to have a pickup intraorally.
Yeah, I said intraoral scan pickup. I was like, oh, I got to see this.
No, like
Okay,
things have changed. Like even I don't know if you guys have been on my Instagram or followed kind of my talks, but within the last year, we just started to scan our all-on-4 cases as well. So all of my all-on-4 cases now are completely model free. And
this is with IPD, right? You've been started doing that.
I started with IPD, but then I switched over to our Atlantis. So Atlantis has their own scan bodies now. It's the IOFlow S that we can scan edentiously. That way, when that patient comes in, they never have an impression. And that's like, I wouldn't call it a selling point for that patient, but even if I'm doing an immediate load case, I can intraorally scan them. They're comfortable, they're confident. I can do a smile design with them if they really wanted to, and continue the workflow through there. Again, never taking an impression, never that alginate, never anything in the mouth. And that's what kind of people like. That's the way I sell it, is that it's okay.
It's all not only a selling feature, but I mean, for a lot of these guys, how much does that even save, like in time and in money, right? What does that save them?
Well, it's saving you all the impression material, all the stone, possibly mistake when your technician's pouring the stone. There's so many different factors involved in that.
The verification jig, you don't need it.
You don't need a verification jig for your finals. There's so many little things that kind of add up, and they add up pretty significantly, even in terms of cash flow. Getting that bar back in 7 days, and you also get a core file that you can start to design your finals on within like 4 hours. I'm immediately getting those cases like rolling, like they're in and out the door a lot faster. So yeah, like I told you yesterday, I finished 4 in the morning before noon, right? And had no issue inserting all of them, and it was great.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you do your scan, who's doing your frameworks for partials?
I have 2 companies that do it for me. I have K-Dent in Alberta, Calgary area, and they mill out of titanium. And then our laboratory that we partner with, it's called the Dental Laboratory. They're in Concord, Ontario, and they SL imprint. So the same way that 3D RPD does it, but I found that 3D RPD kind of went a little bit downhill as of last year or so. I think they got a little bit big and a little bit too big for themselves. And their quality,
they weren't even taking cases anymore. So
and their quality just really went downhill. And so the company, they actually, their SLM printer is there, and they just do it on their own. They're one of maybe like 3 companies or 3 labs in Canada that have an SLM.
So like where, so again, in all of your opinions, right? Like where would somebody who goes, I have no idea where to start and even, start with this stuff. And what's my most, money saving, time saving process that you can kind of, and the easiest to scale? Like where do I start?
Well, I mean, honestly, if they could partner with somebody who was, just maybe have a scanner and partner with somebody who could do their designing and their milling or their printing, at least at the beginning, to get their foot in the door. Like, I don't think you can go and buy an intraoral scanner, a box scanner, software, a mill or whatever, and be fully ready to go and then have no idea what you're doing. Like, take baby steps, like start scanning some dentures and help get somebody to start designing some stuff for you. There are design companies out there now. So
Yeah.
I mean, it takes like years to learn how to do a proper setup, and then you're going to be doing it on a computer. And then what you see on the computer isn't always what shows up on your print or your final mill. And you have to understand what you're seeing on the computer versus what you're going to get. And it takes probably, it's taken us a few years. I mean, we started with Avident in 2013 and really didn't go digital till probably 2018. Where we started getting with, we got 3Shape, we got an Asiga, tried a few different box scanners, and now I've got like a Medit box scanner, a Medit intraoral scanner. And I don't use the intraoral scanner enough, but here and there I'm practicing with it. So I mean, it takes time, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think you can jump in head first,
You can't. So it's a year or 2 year process, minimum. Yeah.
I'd say.
With the right people.
Yeah, and that's dedicating and taking your computer home and designing cases. Like, I'm not doing that. That's not something I'm interested in doing.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well,
Dentures stay at the office when
I was
leave,
sending out all my designs before I even got a design software, just to
Right.
try how it goes.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense. That's what we're doing.
But here's
Initially,
where-
I got a desktop scanner and a cheap printer, and I was just fooling around with it, seeing what I could get, see how accurate the models would be. Then I started with 3D RPD and getting digital frameworks, seeing how that fits. And slowly I build up. I've printed dentures. A bunch of them broke. I had to remake them. Until right now, I just mill all my dentures. I have a mill, and that works. But I didn't get 3Shape until 7 months ago. Before that, I would either set them up and just do a scan and tell them this is how I want it, and they would just do a copy scan, and then I would mill it. Or I would just tell them just set it up, and we do a try-in, and everything was off. They would change it, and there's companies like Evident and other ones that will just do a design for you for, I think it's $20 or $30 per denture, and then they'll just send you an STL back.
Right.
And then you have something, you don't have to invest in the software right away, and try it out, see how it works. And once I got that and it worked, but I just needed more, like I just wanted to do changes right away, that's when I got the software and a person that's going to deal designing, a person that knew how to use 3Shape. And now we're designing everything in-house.
And they sit in the dental practice, like it's always done inside the dental practice.
Well, it's in my office, yeah.
Right, but
in the
saying with Dan, right, your practice Nova Dentures, in the East, and then you have your denture clinic. So where's the lab? The lab sits in the dental office.
Yeah, it's attached to it. The lab is on site.
Right,
So
the lab's
that's where
on
the
site.
mill is and everything.
Yeah. So really, it's just a one-stop shop.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And I mean, again, is that, so let's just say it, well, here it's a little bit more of a higher discussion, but federally, so I talked to a lot of different denturists across Canada. Like New Brunswick is vastly different from Ontario. Ontario is pretty much vastly different from, Alberta, right? I think Alberta seems to be kind of the Wild West seems to have been kind of paving the way for the rest of the country to a certain extent.
Mhm.
But the East Coast is still kind of wild. I mean, again, New Brunswick, there's still a lot of, different rules, right? And
Yeah.
how denturists can operate, so on and so forth. So, we're looking at, is that a big, are they kind of holding back the industry a little bit in terms of the regulations? Or is it the time where you're going, okay, I better do this now before the regulations hit large? And next second piece is, Irhan, your model is a little bit different, right? Whereas you sit on site, like you're there with Dan,
Yeah.
Manny, you own multiple denture clinics, right? Where you have the folks, you have specific people you're working with. And you go on site with Greg and, other folks, right? Like
Yeah.
so it's like, but that's different than kind of what somebody can do in, say, Calgary or in New Brunswick or maybe in Manitoba, right?
I think that the rules in general are kind of about the same in terms of like working with a dentist or working at an oral surgeon's office, periodontist, whatever it might be. I think the only thing that changes is the scope of practice. And so I know that in Alberta, they're able to do their own crowns and bridges and stuff like that. Whereas Nova Scotia, New Brunswick way, they just got the ability to do implants and locators and stuff, like simple stuff that we've been doing in Ontario for 15 years kind of thing. So
partials even
and
too.
partials, yeah, the stuff like that. And so like you're completely right in terms of there's like a sweeping wave in terms of West Coast to East Coast where that's how things grow. And I agree, when you get into Alberta, when I speak there, I bet over 50% of them have some kind of digital aspect to their denture clinic, whereas in Ontario we're only at about 7%. We're really, really small. And when we're over in East Coast way, we're at about 3%. So not a lot of adoption yet, but it's you're right, it does tend to kind of sweep that direction.
Yeah, I think BC is probably the leader. Like there aren't too many guys like you in Ontario. Like it's probably you and Kukuchka, and he left, right? You're probably the only two guys.
Like, yeah, when we did the studies, like this was probably like 2 years ago, we were at about 7% of the denturists in Ontario that had some kind of a digital aspect to their clinic, whether that be they send out their work, they scanned it themselves, or they've inserted 1 or 2 digital dentures. We took that all into consideration, and that was about the average. Maybe some of them lied, maybe some of them didn't, who knows, could be less than that,
give or take.
yeah, but that's still super low. That's significantly, it's too low in my opinion, because I think that the return on investment just in digital in general is a lot higher than what people think it is.
Yeah,
like the fact that, Manny, you say that you have your intraoral scanner, you're not really using it to its fullest extent. I think you know that. Yeah, it's like that's one of the first things that comes up is that, okay, I have a $45,000 prime scan. Now, how does it make me money, right? And or however much a Medit is, I think it's at what, 39 or something like that. Still expensive.
Medit is around 20, I think.
20. It's like that's
still
an
investment
expensive.
though.
Even if it was 15K, it's still expensive, right? Like you have to do a significant amount of dentures. And the one thing that I tell people is that if it's just sitting there and you're not using it, and you're at least not using it for removable partial dentures, it's basically a paperweight, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really make sense to even really utilize it, because I say to people, you do 1 partial a week. There's absolutely, like, if you're not doing 1 partial a week, then you're obviously, you need help in advertising, you need help in something, because there's no way. Yeah, there's no way that a dental clinic out there shouldn't be getting 1 partial a week. 1 partial is $1,500. So $1,500 a week accumulates to the entire cost of a prime scan throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do models. I don't have to pour anything. Like I don't have to do anything. And it's just like, I don't have remakes. Like it just makes so much more.
And the frames fit so much better.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't, like for me, I didn't even have digital denture software when I bought my prime scan. That wasn't even a possibility for me to have because I work with Dentsupply. But I still thought 5 years ago, before the digital denture software was out, that it was still worth the return on investment of $50K, just because of partials. It's significant. And again, I think
Right.
that on average, there's no shot that people aren't doing at least one a week. At least one a week, like at least 3 a week, at least 4 or 5, maybe. That should be kind of the average nationally with what we're doing for partial dentures, because the dentureless population is growing, but we're seeing a lot of partially dentureless patients now. At least I am. That's what I've seen a big shift where I'm seeing a lot of implants and I'm seeing a lot of partially dentureless patients. I'm not seeing that regular full denture that I used to. Yeah, it just
It
doesn't,
doesn't
it's not
happen
as
that much
common as it
anymore.
used to be 5-6 years ago.
Because everyone that's extracting their teeth now will opt for some kind of implant restoration.
Yeah,
Like people know
over
about it.
90% of them, I
Yeah.
think.
Or it's a lot later in life. Like I am not seeing the flat ridges, flat mandibles like I used to. Like I've been doing this 23 years, and first 5 years it was like every second patient was like a table on that lower, and I don't see a lot of that anymore. Like I really don't. Like people at least have ridges because their teeth are just being extracted later in life too. So
Yeah. So when people talk to me about digital dentures and like getting into it, digital dentures for me, like a full is like not even 10% of my business now. Maybe 15 of a full denture that I have to set up digitally. That's, and everything else is basically all on 4 stuff or stuff that I want to spend time designing, right? No one really wants to spend time sitting there setting up a digital denture. And that's why they have companies like Evident, or they have different design services out there that's $20-$30 that you can send it out, get it back.
Yeah,
You're trying
next
for
day,
$5 and you're
and
good.
that's it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it, like, again, I think a lot of folks, I mean, if they're out there even just trying to scale this process, again, if they're sending a file to one of you guys, what's the process for them, right? So, you know, an analog denturist, say, who wants to save some time, that they're short of tech, right? They're short of tech. Or, you know, again, a dentist, right, who's seeing these types of patients, who wants to reverse the referral. You know, how, like, the objections are, how does this work if someone's just shipping this to me? Like, how does digital do that? Right?
Mhm.
That's where a lot of this, so like, what's going to the answer to that, you know, for a lot of them.
Like if someone wants me to produce it for them,
Yeah.
they would still need a scanner. Like they can get up to the bite.
Yeah, they
box
send you a
stage of
file.
things.
Yeah.
all they need is
And-
a scanner if they
And they
wanted
would
to.
need a scanner, and I get the digital file. Design
So
it.
that's a better way of dipping their foot into something like this, because they're at least saving time, right, and effort,
Yeah.
as opposed to trying to go and invest the $300,000 right up front and say, I'm gonna dip both my feet into this, right? Is like finding interim solutions within the market that you can scale with people who've already sort of made that investment.
All they need is an intraoral scanner or a desktop scanner. Really, if you wanted to get into digital dentures, that's
Mhm.
technically all you would 100%
That's all you
need.
need. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
and
can
I'll
still
college-
do certain
Yeah, and I'll
things.
kind of copy what like Manny said. Like, don't invest 300K in going digital and buy everything. There's
Why would they?
There's no point to do that. You would start small. Like you need to start it bit by bit, and starting off with like an intraoral scanner or that desktop scanner, it's a perfect way to go. And actually, oddly enough, most of the intraoral scanners and desktop scanners now come with software as well, where you don't have to worry about it, right? So
But
you
what's it
still
like, the
send it
scan,
in.
like the quality difference? I mean, Irhan, you were saying this the other day, like the quality difference between a digital scan sent to a patient. Again, if I send this to like Vancouver, right, from Ottawa.
So
What-
I was doing about the technique about doing a copy denture scan. So that's sometimes what I do is I take an impression inside the denture in a bite, and I just do a full scan of the denture. And that's patients that want like the exact same looking denture, just better fit new teeth. Once I do a 360 scan of the dentures, I can digitally design it, copy the aesthetics, and then I'll have it ready. That's something that looks and feels similar to what they have.
Which is a lot of the use case for a lot of these practices, I would believe, there's
A lot
that.
of patients do come in with existing dentures, and a lot of them
Yeah.
will be like, "Yeah, I just want like my teeth are dull, but I want the exact same look. I don't want to change."
Little
And
light
that's
But they haven't
very
even
easy
seen
for me
those.
to just take a wash impression, scan it, and I got it. One try and then it's finished.
Manny, is there in Manitoba? Let's talk about Manitoba, for instance, right? Because again, there's a little bit of a difference in terms of how I think things are run in, say, Manitoba and the kind of the West, right? So,
Well,
we talked about,
yeah,
we don't want to talk about
yeah.
dentists, right? But like, what's the difference there? Because obviously, like, you guys are you're dealing with dentures, but you're also doing implants, and so what? Would it be like in Manitoba? Would it be cool for a dentist to be sitting on site at one of your practices doing that, or is that not how it works? Or like, what's the difference?
That's not how it works. I will never show a dentist exactly what I do. That I can tell you. I just don't believe in it. I don't think that they should be touching dentures, and that's my own personal opinion, and that's just
Right.
so. But we have done lab work for dentists over the years. Now, if a dentist has an intraoral scanner, let's just say he wants to get an intraoral scanner, a prime scan, because he wants to be able to scan an arch for a crown or a bridge or a denture in an edentulous mouth also, let's say, or he can do what we call a Winnipegger, what the denturists from coast to coast call Winnipeggers, is taking the impression out of an existing denture. They can actually use their prime scan, their intraoral scanner, and then just scan that. So you actually don't even need a desktop scanner.
Oh, the
So you can
Winnipegger.
have
Yep. The
yeah, you can do a Winnipegger. They call them digipeggers. Now they're called digipeggers. And they were like the the shittiest possible, like everybody bashed Winnipeggers, but now everybody's doing digipeggers.
Yep.
And
I
they
thought
think
that just meant you
they
could
think
drink a
they're
lot of
brilliant.
beer. And
No,
watch a lot of hockey.
they think they're brilliant because they do digipeggers, but meanwhile, it's the way that some people have been making dentures, taking the shortcuts for 100 years. But
Yeah.
either way, if you just have a scan or an intraoral scanner, you can either scan the mouth or you can scan an existing denture. You can take that file and you can send it to a lab or somebody like one of us to do your design. I think that's what you're
That's
sort of
how,
getting here.
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
I do it there with existing
So,
ones.
yeah, so you can buy a $15,000 scanner, you can buy a $60,000 scanner, and that's all you really need to get into digital dentures, whether you're a denturist or a dentist.
Yeah. Do you,
Yeah.
I have a question for Manny. Do
Yeah.
you worry about losing the market share to dentists? Sounds like you do.
It's probably a little different here than it is there too.
Yeah.
The dentists have the dentists probably already, we think, have a bigger market than the denturists. There's only 44 of us now. There was 70 of us 10 years ago. But I see nothing but shit work coming out of their offices. And the technicians hate making dentures for dentists because they're always changing the bite on them, or they're always doing something and they're modifying models, or they're this or they're that. And I know this because my dad, before he was a denturist in the 70s, he had a commercial lab, and then a lot of dentists continued to send to him, and just more guys that are his friends, we would do some lab work for them, and then I cut it out on them.
Do you
a
not
few
think
years
it's going to be much easier at this time with digital to be able to communicate better with those dentists to gain market share for yourself?
Well, for me personally, it's not a problem. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not really worried about it, but I'm worried about denturism, period, at least in my province.
Yeah.
And like they still have to be able to make a denture, whether there's digital impressions or scans or digital or this or that. Like, they still have to know how to take a proper extended impression and take a proper bite registration. But I'm not personally worried about it per se, but it does bug me. It does bug me when I see a patient come here and they're like, "Oh, this doctor made it," blah blah. I'm like, why would you have gone there? There's 44 denturists.
But do you not think if we were closer involved with them and say, okay, our practice is digital and you have an intraoral scanner, let us help you do that to be able to produce a better experience for that patient? Everyone's going to get technically the same results from an intraoral scanner. if you
Yeah,
know how to scan appropriately, and you're gaining market share from the dentist to be able to produce their work.
yeah, I don't know. I still don't want to help them out. They have
Someone's
no,
someone's butthurt from dentists.
yeah, well, no, and well,
And it could be, yeah, I know, I'm just
yeah,
joking. Like, it could be much different there. Like here, it's not like we have dentists that come to the academy all the time, want to learn, want to be educated in digital dentures, want to do it themselves, but also want to do it right.
But I don't think a
so,
lot of dentists here would want to do the actual work, so
No.
to speak.
That's what I'm saying, is that I think
Yeah,
that it's a possibility
they want to send us somewhere.
to flip our like our profession to a certain extent that's not the healthiest right now, to be able to almost turn ourselves into a digital denture lab for those dentists as well, and
yeah,
be able to produce again something good for the patient, because we know the golden principle, the golden rule, our curves and everything, that we need to be able to set that up appropriately, which you still need digitally. The
Yeah.
computer does not do everything for you. So we're still needed to a certain extent, for sure. And to be able to have the dentist be able to do it and send us the work, now we're getting that back to a certain extent, right? So instead of worrying about losing the business to dentists, now we're helping that dentist to produce something better for the patient, which is overall what I think we all want.
Do you do a lab work for some dentists?
I do tons
Yeah.
of work for dentists. Yeah, I do.
Lab work?
I work with dentists all the time. Yeah, and maybe it's because I meet them through the academy and
Yeah.
they send work back and forth. But I've gained a lot of relationships with dentists that, in the end, because of that relationship that I've made, end up just inviting me in to do those cases.
But I
as well.
think too, probably where Manny is, I mean, a lot of these guys are probably trying to do it themselves, it sounds like, right? Like a lot of them are, they're not really saying, okay, hey, let me just take the impression and then send it off to a proper denture clinic that can do the work, right? They're
Mhm.
either trying to bring it in-house themselves or then hire a tech themselves or whatever, which
Would they do that though?
well, they
Yeah.
I
won't,
don't
they won't
know.
send to a lab, but, okay, so like, I got relationships with a ton of dentists too, and I used to actually work in a dental office one day a week, but I would rather them just send us the
Prefer the
work, not
client.
like send us the patient, not
Yeah.
send us the lab.
Yeah.
I have never
No,
accepted lab
I've
work
been, yeah,
from a dentist.
pardon?
I have myself never accepted lab work from a dentist.
Yeah, because it's
Like
crap.
patients, yes, but then lab work, I was like, no, I know there was a dentist wanted to. I refused it because it didn't make sense for me at that
Because
time.
the impressions are garbage and the bites are all off. So, and then the patient comes to you after and says, well, so-and-so said you made the denture. Can you fix this?
Can you
Blah, blah, blah.
adjust
And you're
it
like,
for free?
well, I never saw you. I didn't make this denture. Who did you pay? Who did you pay for this denture? Well, Dr. So-and-so. Well, then that's who made it.
Yeah.
You know, but no, I have a dentist I'm doing some digital stuff for now because he's up northern Manitoba and there's no denturists there. And then he took a digital denture course, but he has been sending us these scans that are just like atrocious. And I
Mhm.
feel like flying one of my denturists up there for a week and just showing them. But I
Yeah.
said, next time you come through Winnipeg, spend like 4 days at my clinic and we'll kind of show you how we do things here, like how you take a proper impression, proper bite registration. Cause he's actually just sends us, he'll send us this intraoral scan of the upper maxilla, no teeth, edentulous. And then an intraoral scan of the lower, miss a bunch of teeth, like just for an opposing model, and no bite registration. And he thinks that a denture is going to come back. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's what I mean with dentists. Like,
Yeah.
they don't even understand how to take a proper bite registration. That he
Yeah.
doesn't think we need that.
Yeah, and I think that like one of the conversations that I had with Shamil when I first kind of got onto the That's Smiling Dentist program was that when we're in a dental office, we know the realities of dentures as well, and we know the realities that a patient's going to be much more confident and comfortable with an implant supported appliance. And so a lot of times, a lot of my business comes from that, where the dentist will have me in for a regular denture, and 90% of those patients will end up getting implants, right? So then at that point, am I worried as much about how that dentist is going to scan that case? No, not so much, right? Because now we're not worried about that suction or that buccal flange or extreme extensions or anything like that. Now we're
But wouldn't you do the denture since you sold it?
what?
Wouldn't you be doing that one since you went in?
Yeah, a lot of times they'll just have me end up doing it anyways, right?
Yeah. Or you're
but,
just a consultant, you're a sales guy.
yeah, sometimes
in
I
there
just
to
go in
sell
just
it.
to sell it, and it gets taken by someone else, and I'm
Yeah.
fine with that because, like I said, between the three of us as denturists, we know the reality of a denture, and we know that the reality is that they're only going to fit as good as they're going to fit, and we can communicate that to the patient a lot better than the dentist can. So a lot of times the dentists love having me in there, and should love having you guys in there as well, because they're going to technically make more money in the end. They have a periodontist in, if they have an oral surgeon in that's going to place those implants, that's massive for them, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
A huge part of my business referral sources from dentists. So it's not like because most of them don't want to do the work and they don't want to do. So, but at the same time, that's why I will never show one how to make a denture, because I just want them to send me the work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Along the digital
makes sense.
workflow kind of aspect of it, I do find that it's much easier to get referrals as well. That's something I have found, is that the doc knows that you're kind of up with the times, you know what you're doing, and you know that analog is going the way of the dodo, and they will end up referring you more. In my, like, that's what I've experienced for sure, that they will end up sending more work to you because they say, hey, this guy's got an intraoral scanner, right? Or this
He
guy is
doesn't need to
doing
take
it
an
in digital
impression.
fashion.
Yeah.
But I know, Shamil, you're asking sort of about like smile previews or try before you buy, but I think you're probably sort of like, you're thinking more of like for a consultation, like a facial scanner type of thing, right?
No, face scan. Yeah.
Is that what you
Yeah.
were sort of like,
Have
more
you
like
used
a
any?
smile
I've
preview?
used one. It's okay.
Yeah, it's like kind of showing them what the outcome would be, right?
But we
Especially
do
if it's
do a
the right
printed
type of
denture
patient.
try-in. So that's what I was telling you about. Like, one of the things with printed dentures right now is, um, I have it, I check it, the bite is good, and sometimes they're like, oh, they're looking at it, and I'm like, take it home. Like, I'm not worried about the wax melting or anything. You can even eat with it. These things are pretty good. They'll sturdy, show everyone. And next day they'll call me and like, oh yeah, everybody loved them. Make it for me. And I have the file and I just produce it. Very easy. And I don't have that whole thing about my husband didn't like it or something.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I did about a year ago. I don't know if you guys, where's the camera? I don't know if you'll be able to see this. No, that won't work out.
Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Why is it not working?
It's ghosting.
Yeah.
I'll have to send you the file. So it's try before you buy dentures.
Oh, yeah?
But I think Shamil asked me, and then he goes, well, like, could you do this like free of charge? And I said, well, no, you're still taking the impressions or the scan. You're getting to the try stage.
You're almost there.
But you're letting them try it and actually wear it, maybe eat a meal or two with it or take it home, like you said. And then, so it's technically not try before you buy, but it's wear before you make your final payment, maybe.
Right.
Right.
That's a
But
good
you
way
can
of
do
putting
is,
it.
you can take as many of these things home, like who cares, until you get it right. And
So I do kind of exactly that, but in a different way. Everyone that comes to my practice, I scan them, just right on the consultation side of things. They don't have to sign up for anything. They don't have to pay me money. They don't have to do anything, because it doesn't cost me anything but time to do that, and space on a hard drive. It's absolutely nothing. And a cavi wipe to wipe it down at the end of the day, or an autoclavable tip. So that way, when they leave with the treatment plan, which is the cost of that treatment plan, when they call back, I'll already have those scans already ready. And so they're not coming in again for an impression appointment or anything.
Right.
I'm immediately going to say a digital try-in, or I can make a custom tray from those edentulous scans. But 9 times out of 10, because you've intraorally scanned them and they've never seen that before, I would even say 10 times out of 10, they're going to come back and they're going to say yes, because they're not only amazed with technology, but they're intrigued by how much better this is going to be than the experience that they had last time. That's what I do. And in terms of smile design, again, doesn't cost me anything to spend time on a computer to do that. And all of my all-on cases, these people are spending $30K. There's
Right.
I'm for sure going to show them beforehand, right? Even if they're semi interested and they're not fully signed on yet, for me to scan them and just do a simple setup on a computer, it's just my time to be able to.
You don't do a try-in? The
It
printed
depends if they're a
try-in?
dentist or not, right?
Mhm.
Most of my all on 6, all on 4 cases, they're not a dentist. They'll come in.
Okay, so you do before they take it out. So
Yeah,
you do like
they'll
a
come in
face
with
scan and a
teeth.
try-in.
Yeah, and then I'm scanning, and then I can show them on the computer. I don't have to. Again, there's no cost to doing that. All I'm doing is
No.
scanning, sending it to my computer, spending 15-20 minutes to do a quick setup to show them what generally it's going to look like, right?
Yeah.
It's powerful, right? It's very powerful for them to say
Case
yes
acceptance.
yes to 30K versus, hey, this guy's not spending any time with me. He's not scanning. He's gonna have to bring me back to take a bunch of impressions, pour models, do all this work, and I'm not even gonna be able to see it. That's something that we wouldn't be able to do in an analog fashion that now we can do every time in a digital fashion.
Yeah, very interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
like I say that all the time. Every course that I do, every consultation that comes in, they get scanned. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if I just scan one arch. There's still a question at the end of the day for that patient. They're saying, yeah, I've never had that before, right? Because I bet 98% of our patients that come into our practice have never seen an intraoral scanner. Yeah, and unless they've had a crown done, which again, they would have to have gone to a clinic.
Most of them have not seen it.
That
Well,
same day
more than
dentistry,
that.
Zurich, something like that. It's
Yeah.
so.
Every time I scan, they've never seen the scanner. I
Yeah,
haven't had
so-
one
so
patient see it.
uncommon,
I had
so
scanned
uncommon.
before.
And aren't they so interested when they see it?
Yeah,
And they're
like, it's
intrigued
so
by
cool.
yeah, so
you know,
cool.
like-
They're intrigued by they're almost more excited about it.
And they
right?
always say bad things about, oh, no more that
Yeah,
gunk you
always
used
say
to
bad
do.
things about it.
The gunk.
Yeah, and they're so excited to be able to be scanned and be able to involved in the process that and again, maybe that's why over 50% of my patients are implant supported, because they're trusting you more and they get.
Could you
the
guys print
process.
out like night guards as well for people, or protective? Like, do you guys do
Yeah.
dentures do that at all?
Yeah, I
Like,
do it on the
On the all on
cases.
fours, yeah.
Yeah,
You can do that when you already have the digitally designed setup. You already
Yeah.
have them in occlusion. You just make a quick night guard printed from one of the
Right.
materials there.
yeah. Again, tips, tricks. I think it's good. Like we got together, and there's a lot more to kind of to go off about, especially on the case acceptance side, right?
I
Yeah.
see
Using
more
digital.
people going for all on 4 cases now than ever. People don't like wearing dentures.
No.
They've heard everything about it. It's bad.
Yeah,
I don't even do that many locators anymore. It's most
No.
of them are all on 4.
very rare.
No one's excited to get a new
No.
set of dentures.
You know what they say? I don't want to be like my father or grandfather with his dentures in a cup. That's
Yeah.
it. I'm like, well, I got teeth for you. How about we screw them in?
See these little 4.1 millimeter screws? We're just gonna screw them all in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. If they're like, I like that. You want to eat an apple? You need corn on the cob? Yeah, I do. Okay, this is it.
This is
Yeah.
it.
It's an investment. They'll spend it on a car or something anyway. It's going to lose value. Might as well spend it on something health wise. They're going to
Right.
gain value. So
We actually interview some of these patients in different markets, and we asked them what the first thing they ate was after their surgery. And literally overwhelmingly, it's steak. It's like
Steak, yeah.
95%
I
steak.
see that every day when I do steak that day.
There's no vegan, there's no, vegetarians. I don't know what a
I don't
vegetarian would
know.
eat.
I
What's the
think
first
it-
thing a vegetarian would eat? I guess corn on the cob. That's what they would eat, right?
Yeah.
I love
I've had
steak.
that. I had a patient when I did the Olafur, she emailed me. She's like, I haven't had corn on the cob in years.
Right. Or an
Mhm.
apple,
But
you know.
you can
Just
do
the
that,
simple-
but you can't do that
simple
with dentures. So
no,
And the ones who say they can are lying, so.
yeah,
Were those the same guys that used to open up beer bottles with their teeth?
no, those are the guys the
Yeah.
dentures break with a piece of toast.
Right,
Yeah.
They're the
right.
same guys.
It's always toast. It's always
Oh,
toast.
it's the toast. It's a magic toast. I don't know.
Set it
is
to 9. Why are you setting your toaster to 9?
Yeah.
You know? What's wrong with you? You're gonna burn the house down.
Yeah, I gotta run here, guys, but
Okay.
When do we do this again? In a month, you said,
Yeah,
or so?
let's do it in a month.
Okay.
But look, I really appreciate everybody's time. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Good group of folks. Hopefully my voice is back for next time, but I'm glad I didn't do as much chatting this time. As you all know, I've never been short on words, but I appreciate the time, guys, honestly. And I'm hoping, everybody out there as well gets a little bit of value from this, right? Because the guys who are on this call right now, I mean, you guys are all rock stars in your market, right? So there's a lot that folks can learn from you guys, as
And we're all
as
doing it different. Like John is doing it different. And
I do it very different,
yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
He's a
very
different
successful.
approach than what I did. I
Right.
did way different approach than what he did.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. No, and we'll chat about that one in future
Yeah.
episodes too, right? And sort
Because
of
I have a,
how you guys did it, and then Manny 28 years, right, in the business. So
he's the original.
yeah, he's an OG.
23.
20. Oh, okay,
that one.
sorry, 23. I like to make it here. I am making it sound good. Sound better. You're multiple practice owner for 26 years, right?
If it was 28, I'd have been done doing this since I was 14.
It's I love it. I love
me
it.
and,
No, it's
me and
honest-
John are classmates from back in the
yeah.
day.
I've been making tea since I was 15. I came to
Oh
my
yeah, your
dad's
dad.
company. Yeah,
Yeah.
So was I, but I mean, like out of school since 2000. So
yeah.
So you must have made so a couple of sets of teeth must have been, those are back in the analog days, I assume, right? Those were all analog day.
Oh yeah.
last year was the analog days. What are you talking about?
Yeah. My wrist still
Right.
hurts.
John, do you have a mill?
Jonathan hasn't had carpal tunnel since 2016 though.
Yeah,
Right.
my arms are feeling great now.
He's got that
Right.
wrist thing
Fantastic.
from the computer, though. You know that.
Oh, I
wrist
got a nice
information.
mouse pad. It's good. Yeah, I'm resting on top of there.
Do you have a
This
mill,
year's
John?
mouse pad.
Oh yeah,
What kind of
Yeah.
mill do you have?
I have an MCX5, the Dentsply mill.
Oh, that's my mill. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're fully committed with those guys.
Fully committed. It's a great company. It's a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
The support is really what gets you. Is like
Yeah.
I don't know who I could call from Medit. I would have to call whoever I bought it from, and that would be Rotzart in Ontario
Yeah.
with 15 employees. Well, Dentsply Sirona has 15,000, right? So it's a significant difference in terms of just support channels that you can talk to people.
Support's
Yeah.
huge, right?
Yeah, it's massive, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, no, I know you guys got to run. It's Friday. Go get your families. Again, an honor to have spent the last hour with you, and I
Yeah.
appreciate your time for real.
sure.